I saw yesterday that they mentioned that the school is going to be closed until clearly until next year. And so that means that there's going to be an absolute need to work from home for many people for the foreseeable future. So with so much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw Eric Garcetti say that there will be no mass gatherings in Los Angeles till 2021. And then Andrew Cuomo this morning was like, everybody wants a timeline. I can give you the most definitive timeline right now by saying, even if we found a vaccine today, it takes 12 to 18 months. So that's your timeline. I was said, wow.
Yeah, and so I think as a result, the concept of people going back home to work is, I'm sorry, to go back into the office to work at least 40 hours a week is, I think it's going to be change for just about everybody, at least a good 80% of the workforce out there. And so there's going to be a lot of needs to make some adjustments. And so a lot of these changes will be permanent and not so temporary as people are hoping that they would be.
Yeah, and I know you and I talked about it briefly earlier. You know, I've been a work from home person for quite some time, so I might schedule another webinar to kind of give tips and tricks on how to be the most effective employee from a work from home situation.
That'd be a great idea.
Yes. So, okay, it seems like we have a few more people that have logged in. Are you ready for me to kind of kick this off, Mr. Bowers? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is the HEED Consulting Group, and I am Kelly Bethea. I'm one of the co-founders of HEED, along with Michael Bowers. Just a little about us and our consulting group. HEED is a risk management consulting company that focuses mostly on cyber and business continuity solutions. So, you know, the kickoff of this whole Safer at Home has in many ways kind of become our Super Bowl with helping people move to an at-home workforce. It has definitely kind of kicked our customer retention into a hyperdrive of trying to help people do this. And by doing so, we've really learned a lot of lessons along the way. Some we were expecting and others were a completely new environment for us. So as I said, I'm Kelly Bethea. I am a 20-year veteran of the insurance industry with a significant risk management and insurance background, focusing mostly on large global and national companies. And my partner, Michael Bowers, who will also be presenting with us today, is a 20-plus year IT executive. And, you know, we kind of came together in 2019 to marry our two forces of risk management and IT to form HEED Consulting Group. And this has been a labor of love for us. And we are excited that we are able to bring you these informative sessions. And we'd kind of like to start out this, what have we learned over the past 30 days, with a discussion on what is happening today and what is the current threat landscape. I suppose I should be moving the presentation along as I'm sitting here chattering away. As I said, so we like to begin this presentation with talking about what the current threat landscape is and what the top threats are that we've seen in the last 30 days. And with that, I will turn this over to Michael Bowers.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. And so as Kelly was mentioning, we do want, you know, if everybody's been working from home, with the coronavirus and everything happening, with all the announcements coming from either local or national governments, organizations, people are getting a lot of communication. They're in new scenarios. Aside from the stress that people are going through, there's just a lot of things that are happening. And so what we're seeing out there is that the attackers are taking advantage of every that happens, every event that happens, they're on it because it's very profitable for them. And so these are some of the threats that we've seen in the last 30 days based on TechCrunch and Dark Reading, Forbes.com, and ZDNet. One of those phishing attacks are on the absolute rise, and that's because people are looking for these, either be small business, payroll, coverage checks, or ways to get their own stimulus, whatever it is. These phishing attacks are taking advantage of that and getting people to try to sign up for things that are that they've seen in the news. And if they can make a tweak on it and get you to sign up and put your information and submit all your information, they can do so. So phishing attacks are definitely on the rise. Business email compromises are on the rise too, and what that means is people are like having their emails, whether they be credentials or they're being hijacked in some way, because people are working from home on these machines that are just at home. Now we're finding that more and more attacks are happening because the security tends to be down, at least for the first few weeks, while people are trying to get things going. The other things have been the attacks on small businesses with remote workforces. They are, once again, trying to take advantage of the fact that people are not in the same room, so you don't have the typical communication. A lot of times folks have a lot of things going on at home, so there's a lot of distractions. So attacking these people who are now at home is absolutely on the rise. There are sophisticated groups that are also targeting remote groups and who are going at whether it be departments as well. So there's one thing to say, hey, the whole company is at home, but cyber criminals are smart. That's how they're able to build these codes, and they understand sociology and understand how people are working, and they follow the news. And so when they know that a whole accounting department's at home, if they can somehow get malware into your machines and then just know that, they can then wait and find the best time to make their attack. So they're being very sophisticated. It's not just shoot and spray and hope we get stuff. Now they're learning their environments and getting into them. Education-based attacks are also on the rise because as a lot of students are working from home, whether it be, I'm sorry, not working, but attending school from home. And Kelly, you and I have been going through this personally as we've been having a homeschool. With Zoom and all of these different Google Classrooms, there are now attacks on these. Zoom had to fix their issues where people were just able to enter a meeting code and then just enter that. So then they were going in and they were saying, hey, well, we should send these invoices and we should do these things. People were chatting and joining who were not a part of the organization or part of the classroom or the school, acting as students, acting as administrators. And so these attacks are on the rise because people are just trying to figure out how to do it and they don't really understand what's wrong. And then lastly, the websites that are offering false information. So what these are, as I was mentioning before, if you're looking for your stimulus check, they can send you an email that says, go over here to check on yours, or click here to find out how to double that stimulus check, or how to maximize it, or whatever, get it faster, get it in an hour. These fake websites are on the absolute rise. And so we're seeing that happening across the board. And that's just a little bit of an idea of what's happening that's increasing in the last 30 days. So what we've got here, what we've done today is we put together what we've learned in dealing with our clients in the past month. And we've had all kinds of clients from food distributors to medical offices to marketing firms to even a gardening service. They're all trying to figure out what they need to be doing. And so as we've been going through this, we're going to share with you guys the tools for implementing a strong workforce. And that starts with building a strong foundation. You know, in case you're wondering what that means putting in the tools for your workforce so that they can be able to now work at home. And one of them is cyber awareness training for your staff. People need to understand what kind of threats are out there and how to recognize them. Establishing your corporate accounts for a lot of these solutions out there. Now, this is something that's super, super important. We're seeing people who are trying to set up, whether it be Adobe Cloud or email or Dropbox or some type of sharing. If you can set these up for your team before they go creating their own solutions, you will be able to maintain control of that. And so a lot of this can be done through your Office 365 or your Gmail accounts, but create the foundation for them before they go do it themselves. The other thing is investing in equipment. You know, people used to come into the office and working with what they got. They may have a computer at home, but they may share with their significant other, they may share with their kids. It may just be a computer that they use just to check their Facebook and Gmail. It can be old, it can be infected already, and they know that. There's lots of things that are happening. So if you can provide that solution for them at home, it's important. The schools have been doing it, either getting Chromebooks or something along those lines, but give your employees the tools to go home and work if you can. I understand that not all companies can say all of a sudden I've got to invest $1,000 in every employee. However, there are solutions you can get started around $350 that can at least get them into a basic laptop. But if you can do so, make that investment, get them the equipment that they need, especially when it comes to hotspots and mobile phones, if they're going to be accessing your network. These are huge areas of risk for clients that you need to address up front. Moving on. Business communication, serious area that must be addressed. One thing is ID management for the organization. Now that people are working from home, their credentials are being shared in many ways. People are just communicating without thinking about security. And so if you can implement like an Office 365, a Google Business, something that allows you to manage your multi-factor authentication, but also something that can monitor your the dark web for your credentials. A lot of folks don't know that the way emails are compromised sometimes when phishing attacks are launched and malware is launched is by buying and selling credentials. And the way that that is done on the dark web is we can search for your domain names and see if they're even available. You'd be surprised. I mean, the simple thing is changing your passwords, but if they're out there, you want to know that. Email. If you have a pop email, or if you're using Gmail, like business at Gmail, now is the time to make that upgrade and implement something like an Office 365, so you can have not just email, but the ability to protect that. And so with phishing protection, there are different types of solutions that can see the common threats that are coming through the emails and stop them before they get to your user's inbox, especially once again, if they're used to being in the same room or on the same floor or in the same building, saying, did you send this request for a wire transfer, or who is this vendor? Now they don't understand what they need to do, and so they may just go ahead and proceed because they're busy, their kids are bothering them. So you want to have that phishing protection, protect them before they get to their inbox whenever you can. In addition to that, you want to have backups for email, because backups can help protect when somebody loses an invoice, if an email box is compromised, if someone deletes things by accident. Having backups, your email is important. Not only that, but through a lot of backup solutions now, you can have a filtering to make sure that, once again, something referenced as a sandbox, where if a message is deemed potentially damaging, it can be sent to a sandbox. It can be launched there. If it's going to damage anything, it won't go beyond that sandbox. If it launches and it's okay, it can then be sent to the user's inbox. So again, when you have an Office 365 and then you implement these advanced threat protections, you then get that type of rollback and sandboxing features that allow your users to stay safe. Also, voice. This is something that's very, very important. People are getting calls of their offices and on their phones. We've had to set up a few people for either RingCentral or Vonage or even Office 365, which has a PBX system built in so people can get their phone calls at their homes. But in addition to that, one thing we've also been adding for our clients is a virtual receptionist. So as people are now working from home and they're used to having one person answer the phone, or maybe they get a lot of solicitations, or a lot of customer service, or now you have multiple departments, implementing a virtual receptionist, you can take all your calls and then route them accordingly, can keep your customers happy, it can keep your vendors happy, it can keep everybody happy and in communication with everybody who they need to. So having a virtual receptionist that can funnel all your calls and then literally route the call, whether it be to a cell phone, to a voicemail, or to automatic recording. You want to be able to put those types of solutions in place as you send your workforce home, because once again, now they're not at their desk, and so they can't just get all their calls like they're used to. And lastly, soft phones. Soft phones will tie back into the Vonage and RingCentral, but what that also does is, and this is really important, especially if you have people who are going to use their cell phones. With a soft phone, that means it's referencing software phone. And so what they can do is on their devices, whether it be their computer or on their mobile device, their tablets, what have you, RingCentral, Vonage, many providers out there offer a software that will allow the calls to come in through that. What that does is, say you have someone who does customer service and they're using their cell phone. Well, now if it comes through soft phone, they'll know that this is a business call, not a personal call. Which means now you can say whenever you get a business call, make sure you answer it as if you're at the office versus at home. So soft phones allow you that kind of control and power to allow people to work from home. So business communication and managing that, super important for any organization working from home. The last thing, yeah, social media management. So one thing that we've had a few clients need to do is archiving. And before the request came in, quite honest with you, didn't really know it was even an option. However, when you need to keep track of what's being said from your organization, whether it be promises or commitments or claims of anything, you want to be able to archive that, because that can get you in trouble if someone says you said something that you didn't, then you try to delete it, or if someone did something by accident and then deleted it, or your credentials get compromised and then people go through and start to post things on your social. You want to have the management of that and be able to have the ability to roll back credentials in case they are compromised. Once again, if you have somebody who works for you and manages your social, and then their credentials get compromised, whether it be by a malicious person, a cyber attacker, or just someone who got their phone, you want to be able to lock them out of that so they can stop putting things up there like, don't visit us, visit them, whatever it may be. And then lastly, as you see there, for websites, enable MFA, which stands for multi-factor authentication. And some of you may have already seen this with your banks, but when you have to log into things like, say, your QuickBooks Online or something along those lines, or even now, Microsoft is going to force multi-factor authentication, and a lot of you may have already done this for Office 365 to make sure that you may have the password, but you must also have a text message, or you may have to enter a security code that changes every 30 minutes. And when you can implement this for your websites, like whether it be your Salesforce or your QuickBooks Online or whatever, you want to enable multi-factor authentication. So as people are working from home, again, you need 2 ways to get into a resource, especially when it has sensitive information within it. And moving along, up next we have a line of business services. And this is something that a lot of folks realize once they get home, that how am I going to fulfill this particular responsibility? How do I answer customer service calls? How do we make sure we have inventory? These are things that require you to still do business when you're working from home. And so first up, we have one of the things that you want to make sure you do is have remote desktop connections so people can access their computers from home. But the issue with that is you want to make sure that it's secure. So you can set your machines up, and there's multiple ways to do this, whether you use a third-party application or if you have a Windows environment, you can do remote desktops. There's even virtual desktops you can do as well. But when your users are now needing to access software on your office computer, sometimes it may require more licensing to do it at home on a home computer. So you want to connect to your office computer. So remote desktop connections are important, but they got to be secure. Upgrading your VPN. So we've had clients that were using basic IPsec security, but we're realizing that that's not enough, especially for attackers who are trying to put what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, which is where they're able to, through your free Wi-Fi, you're at a cafe, you log in, you send your credentials. With IPsec, they're not always encrypted, and so they can be captured. And we actually had a client a few months ago, was traveling in Australia. The remote user went into some place while he was trying to wait for the flight, logged in to remote desktop. They were able to get his credentials. They then, over the course of the weekend, infiltrated their network, were able to elevate their credentials, and then were able to launch a ransomware attack, and it cost them $100,000+, and they're still kind of recovering from it a few months later. So upgrading a VPN to eliminate that, and something else we'll get into later, which is upgrading your ecosystem for your networks. Third-party desk connectors, that's things like Go to My PC or Show My PC. These are solutions that will allow you to connect your computers at the office we've had clients do this too who did not have a client server environment. The issue with that is it can be very expensive because you got to pay for every single license every single month, and that can be hundreds once you add 2 or 3 people. So it's available, and if you have to do it right away, go to My PC is a great one. Show My PC. These are different things that allow you to do it immediately, but I warn you, the cost goes up very quickly. The next thing will be virtual workspaces and desktop as a service. These are solutions that allow you to create a virtual instance of your office computers, and then that way people can connect to them and work on them in a secured environment. This is a kind of nerdy, and we can talk about this later. But if you want to make sure that people are able to connect to their environments, you can lock it down, you can lock them out, you can roll it back. Virtual workspaces or desktops as a service is another solution that we have, especially for some of our clients who have people who are doing repetitive tasks, maybe call centers or something like that. Creating a virtual workspace for them allows them to have users everywhere, but still be able to connect from like even an iPad to do their work. And then cloud versions of applications. So we've had clients that have had like QuickBooks on premise, but now they're working from home. They're like, well, we need to do this, but we can't connect across the internet because the VPN won't allow the database to load. And so sometimes you have to upgrade to the cloud versions of existing applications that you have. And so a lot of them have them out there right now. Some of them even have trials to work with. There's something we can help you guys with, but something to also consider. And if you do implement a cloud version of an otherwise on-site application, you want to make sure you enable 2-factor authentication with that as well. So, safely securing when you're out of the office is important because those line of business services to either provide your customer service, your services, whatever it is, you still want to be able to provide that while keeping your employees safe, especially when they got to stay home and take care of their kids because schools are closed for the foreseeable future. Not to mention there's no sports, which is just insane. I feel sorry for all those athletes and kids who have been taking all this time to become the best athlete they can. And now they're told they got to take time off and they can't train like they used to. It's got to be traumatic for them.
Hey, Mike, I have some really good questions that are coming in. Would you like to have them come in as they hit us, or would you like to have a Q&A at the end?
Well, we can have a Q&A at the end, but if it's an important question that somebody wants to ask right now, I know that not everybody can stick around. So if you have a question, go ahead and shoot it.
Yeah, I had gotten a question into the inbox that wanted to know what the difference between screen sharing and remote desktop connections were.
Okay, that's actually a good question because they kind of sound like they might be the same. Screen sharing is sort of like what we're doing right now, which is when you're able to share what you're doing with other people. But when you want to do remote desktoping, that's when people are going to connect to the computer and work on it. And so, yeah, you're sharing it with yourself, but you're not sharing with other people. So that remote desktop is when they actually want to connect and work as if they're sitting at their office. And screen sharing is something that you do like in Zoom or Ring Central, where you can share information for meetings, even the Teams like we do. That's what that is, and that is how it is used. Screen sharing information, remote desktop, using your computer from the office.
So remote desktop connections are not just for the IT staff anymore.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. Oh, employee management. This is another thing that's been coming up quite a bit. Staff are saying now that we have these people at home, well, how do we manage them? We used to be able to see them. They used to put their finger on the scanner. Now they can't. Well, one thing that we've done is we found a few different time tracking apps to allow people to have their employees log in. Some of them will have cameras so they can make sure that they're either in front of their machines. Some of them even have the ability to do facial recognition. Some will even tie into, say, a QuickBooks or an ADP, which will allow them to say, okay, they logged in here. We can see the time of inactivity, and so you can see if they were not busy. Something that's built into Office 365 is called Power BI, which gives you the same kind of insight for time tracking. Asset management, knowing what things are. If you know where your equipment is and you know where it's at. For mobile devices, you can have location tracking when using certain apps. So that's something you want to implement. IP management, which is your intellectual property. If you have databases and you have collateral on your users' computers, you want to be able to, somehow maintain that, and usually something like SharePoint or Dropbox for your business, something allows you to control access to your intellectual property, is how you can manage when people are logging in. Some things you can do is check out a file, they have to put it back. So there's multiple solutions for handling that. Communications and team meetings, this is something that we internally here at HE do every morning at 10 a.m. We have our Teams meeting, and Teams is part of Office 365. And when people used to being in the same room, they used to talk and just walking over to each other, maybe standing at the coffee machine or the water cooler. You don't have that anymore. So Teams is a great way to not just have like your department meetings, your all hands on deck meetings, but you can also have communications between employees. So say if you have departments, you can create departments in Teams and have people still communicate back and forth that way. This is really important because now you're not just chatting, you can share documents and they stay within that conversation forever. So some people use Slack when they're outside, for other organizations who don't use 365, for those people who use Google, a lot of them would tend to use Slack for that same reason. You can upload documents, you can share links, and they're all there in the same place. And the last one being accountability. So as I mentioned a while ago, Power BI will let you see when people are working on documents. You can see how long they worked on documents. And it's not that it's like looking at them there's no camera looking at them, but when people are opening documents that are shared from SharePoint or from OneDrive for Business, you can see the statistics of that, and you can see, okay, it's been open for 10 minutes. This particular user was working on it. You can see that. And so again, Power BI already built in for 365 gives you that immediate insight. So holding people accountable when they're working from home is something a lot of our employees, a lot of our clients are looking for, to not just send people home. And next, I believe we have data protection and management. And this is important because when you're used to having everything in the office on your servers and you've got your little safe space, and now you're sending people home, you are opening up yourself to all kinds of risk. So one thing you want to do is make sure you audit your locations of data on a regular basis for a variety of reasons. One, know where it's at. Know who's got access, know where the key files, databases are located, so you can then back them up. And so you want to back up all your data whenever possible, because it's nothing like lost data. It can impact morale, deadlines can be missed. There's lots that can happen when data is lost. So you want to make sure things are backed up, and based on your environment, you want to have the right kind of a backup plan. Because some people can get away with just copies of the data, but like one of our clients who's a food processor, they need to be up and running like pretty much immediately. They cannot afford to be down for days. And so for them, we have solutions where we have a backup solution that will power up a virtual server and allow the employees to connect and work immediately with no downtime. If they have a higher need like that, even though it's not very expensive, their requirements are different. And then also encryption. You want to make sure that you encrypt data whenever possible, because when data is at rest, you want to make sure that, for one, credentials can't get to it, but if they were to somehow get a drive or steal something, encryption will make it so they cannot get access to it without a higher set of credentials. And so you want to use the best encryption that you can, especially for mobile users who are going to be having content on their devices, PDFs, it could be whatever, encrypt whatever you can. And expect a data loss. It can be small, it can be big, it can be a drive that fails, it can be, servers fail, people delete things. you have to plan on either mistakes or things that's happening which can cause you to lose data. It could be a cyber attack, it could be hardware failure, anything. You've got to have backups for that, especially when people are now working from home. There's all kinds of exposure that are there. So protect yourself, make sure you have backups across the board and encrypt everything that you possibly can, and know where your data is at all times so that if it's missing or if things change, you know, and it's best to have someone who's keeping an eye on that for you so that you don't have those blind areas of exposure. All right, hardware and what we call have your own device management. So HYOD, have your own device, which is what a lot of companies are doing, just hoping that people are going to have a computer at home, hoping that they're going to have all these things, printers and so forth. You gotta, for one, see what they have, take an inventory, see if it's going to be adequate to do their jobs, see if it's going to be secure, see if they have access to it. These are all things you need to do. If you can provide them, do so. Finance it if you have to, but provide this information for them. But if they're going to be using their own equipment, monitor those. And what I mean by monitor, that does not mean monitor their activity, but you want to make sure they're staying updated. You want to make sure they have antivirus on there, especially if you're going to be installing VPNs. We've been doing this for clients, and we're like, hey, wait a minute. If we're going to put this VPN on their machines, that means we're now going to have unrestricted access to your network. We've got to start protecting them, because if they have malware and all of a sudden they connect to the VPN, how are you going to get that stuff right on your network? And where before you were able to see these things, now you have new ways into your network. So you want to have great oversight on that. And so the last item here is endpoint eco management. Now this is a new term that's come up in the last year, and something that we really recommend for all. In fact, we're making it mandatory for all new clients and getting all of our current clients to upgrade to this. And this is implementing an ecosystem that can see your entire network. That means your endpoints, your users, these are the servers, these are your firewalls, your routers, something that can see everything, your mobile users, your VPN, under a single management dashboard. The reason why this is important is because, and it could be Barracuda, it could be Sophos, it could be SonicWall. The big players are beginning to implement these ecosystems that will allow you to see if something happens on a desktop over here. First of all, we're going to make sure it doesn't appear anywhere else on our network, and then we're going to make sure that we can lock that down for anybody that comes up, so that no one has this issue. And then we're going to notify all of our other devices in the entire ecosystem that this new threat has come up and block it across the board. So being able to see everything is super important when you upgrade your network ecosystem, which is what the next screen is about. Because when you invest in this and you upgrade, you manage all your endpoints and all your VPNs, this will minimize your exposure to outside threats, or at least be able to see them, isolate them, and reverse any damage that is done by them. So once again, you have companies like Sophos, you've got Barracuda, you've got SonicWall. There's lots of vendors that have got one. One client that we just worked with this week, we sold them SonicWalls a couple years ago, and so everything was still good. And so instead of recommending that we just replace all their equipment, we noticed that SonicWall has partnered with Sentinel and has built their own ecosystem. So now we've upgraded all their devices. Now they're all talking to each other. There's an agent that goes onto the workstations that works alongside their antivirus. So now we have WebRoot, which is providing artificial intelligence and learning. And we also have an agent which now ties into their SonicWall cloud management ecosystem. So we can see all the devices, all the firewalls, all the VPN connections, whose bandwidth is too much, who's got any potential threats coming through, but again, a single dashboard. And up until this point, we've been having to use multiple solutions to provide the overall coverage for our clients, if not even just having that kind of an oversight of having everything connected. And so that's the benefit of the last 18 months of technology, and we recommend that all of our clients begin to implement an eco-management system that sees their entire network. And then, of course, segment your network for access to company-wide resources. So again, putting accounting into one network, if you can put marketing into another network, you put admin into another. If any one is compromised, you can't get to everything. People who shouldn't have access to others, you can restrict that access, and it just keeps your damage containable to smaller areas instead of just having everything open like you may have had at the office. So upgrade your network and upgrade your ecosystems.
Hey, Mike, we had another interesting question that you might be able to field. They wanted to know, what is smishing?
Oh, you know, that's a new phrase that has come up, which I should go back into the social media archiving I was talking about earlier. And so smishing is something else that cyber attackers are using as part of their attacks on organizations. And to give an example, let's say you have ABC Laundry Company, and they're saying, hey guys, so we're sending all of our employees home to work safe, to keep you safe, and only our critical people are coming to the office. And you start to share things like, here's Tommy. Tommy's working with his kids in his lap, and he's doing a great job being there for you guys as customers because we're an awesome company. Well, between that and then people, they start to understand who works at the company. They start to find their own personal accounts. And once they can start to understand where people are, how they're working, then they can create these new attacks that go specifically to what's going on. So laundry company, Mary is in accounts payable, Tom is in accounts receivable. Hey Tom, can you pay this invoice because these guys are saying that it was short? And it's okay, I'm gonna pay it right now. Here's a new routing number because here's a reason for them to change things. It sounds legit. It's the company. We've been doing business with them for a while. We know each other. I'm gonna send this. But this is all because they know that everyone's working from home, and Tommy's got kids and he's busy, so he can't always focus, and he's gonna work when he can. And so using the social media information, to do things is how they're able to sort of socially hack. And so smishing stands for social media phishing attacks. Again, learning your organization and finding ways to get in.
Perfect. Thank you. I think some of the other questions we could probably field, they're more company specific for people. So we will follow up with all of the other questions through email.
Yes. You can proceed here. So, in summary, as we mentioned, these are the kind of issues that we've been having with our clients and even some of our colleagues as we talk amongst ourselves and, hey, what are you guys doing over there? How are you addressing these issues? Here's how he can help you guys with these challenges and so forth. For one, we offer consulting to identify the solutions to your existing challenges. So say you're trying to figure it out, we do offer consulting. You can give us a call, 818-356-7187. That information will be at the end. But you can give us a call, send an email, and we can do initial consultation and just come out and talk. Or we can have a phone call and see what your issues are, and then we can provide some assistance that way. The next thing is project management and virtual IT management consulting. So for a lot of our clients, we are their IT department as well as their cybersecurity advisors, but we also come in for companies who have existing IT and they just need more hands, they need some assistance. We've actually been brought in to bring management where they may have just had an admin on staff, but they need someone to kind of tell that person what to do. And so so having us come in and provide management for your existing staff, or coming in and working with your executive team to maybe figure out if something is going to work for you guys, whatever it may be, we can provide that sort of assistance for you. We are also vendor agnostic, which means that if the solution, say you have an existing set of hardware that you don't want to necessarily replace, If it can't be used, by all means, we'll we'll do what we can. You may have had a bad experience with some manufacturers and say, listen, I don't want to deal with them. I'd rather find someone else. Well, even though we've got partners with, let's say partnerships with everybody, we can make any recommendations that are best for your environment, because not every environment's the same, not every backup is the same, they're all different. And to go to Kate's question just came in, she says, it sounds like a monitoring of all these things would take a lot of time. Is there an easier way to manage this? And the answer to that question is yes. By one of the things that we do is the ongoing management, support, and maintenance of our clients' environments. And so that means making sure their Windows and Macs are up to date, their servers have got security patches, operating system patches. We can be your firewalls, there's printers, there's lots of cameras. There's lots of things in your environment that need to stay updated, especially when the manufacturers have put out, hey, we've identified a weak hole in our system, you should patch this right away. Well, if you don't do that, the cyber attackers now know. They have ways of knowing if this equipment is in your environment, especially if it's a firewall, and if there's a hole in it, they can attack that. So yes, it can be a lot, Kate, and that is part of what we do for our clients, is managing that for them. So aside from, making sure your emails are working and making sure your encryption is right, we can also provide that ongoing support. And of course, with that, having risk assessments done means that you can now know what's going on in your environment. And so one other thing that we do is risk assessments, cyber assessments, business continuity assessments, helping organizations know if they can sustain a cyber attack. What would happen if this were to fail? What would they do? So we work with organizations to create policies for responses to data breaches, cyber attacks, data loss. These are all things that can help you guys. The HEED can help you guys with moving forward.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of that, Mike, it's a really good point for us to make that we not only offer the proactive solutions on how to mitigate against a cyber attack or any of these types of issues that might be arising out of this new environment, we also offer the reactive services. If God forbid you have been attacked, we can go ahead and try to help you with reversing anything that had been done.
That's a great point, Kelly. And to that, to give people an example, we have a seminar, a webinar coming up next week on what is a cyber incident retainer and why you need one. And so for organizations who we are not providing service for all the time, that do have retainers for us, what we do is we go out, we provide a light risk assessment, we take an inventory of the environment, we set up credentials that we have that we can come in and address the issues in case something ever happens. So by having us be informed about your network when something happens, we're that much more, how should I say, we can get to the solution faster. And our cyber incident responses are usually coming in the second you have an incident, whether it be ransomware, it could be a hijacking of your resources. We'll come in, identify the issues, begin to reverse it whatever way possible, assess the damage, contain it whatever way we can, and then work with you to get the organization back to normal. Typically it takes between 3 days and a couple of weeks to get that done, depending on how much damage is done. We just had a client that, as I mentioned before, their servers were compromised over a weekend. And so it wasn't until Sunday, when the IT manager was getting all these complaints that people's email wasn't working. It's because the cyber attacker had gone in, he had disabled the backups, and then shut down the Exchange server. So it took us about a week to scrub all the machines, go to all the backups, get them back up and running, and slowly turn services back on. And it took a while, but we were able to do it, and it took about 4 to 5 days. And because they're in multiple locations, there's a lot to do. We had to touch everybody's machine to make sure they did not have the malware on their computers so that it would not read or launch. And that's something that happens, which we'll go into in a different webinar, and that is when people have cyber attacks, they clean one machine, but the malware is still in their environment, and so it can relaunch later. So our our cyber incident response teams are looking for that and trying to address that from the very beginning instead of waiting to see if that's going to be an issue. So that's a great point, Kelly. I'm glad you brought that up.
So that is pretty much the presentation that we had planned for today. We appreciate all of your questions and your follow-ups. And so just putting out there for myself and Mike, you are always welcome to follow up with either of us individually. Again, my name is Kelly Bethay. You can reach me at our office line at 818-356-7187, as you can with Mr. Michael Bowers.
Yes, we are typically available, like I say all the time, but we use a virtual receptionist because we were supposed to be moving into our offices that day the stay-home work order was put in place. March 16th, which happened to be my birthday. So we were supposed to be moving into the WeWork locations, and so we have now had to implement our own virtual reception. So if you were to give us a call and had any questions, you can do that. And so, oh, thank you, Andy. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, so as you guys, if you have any questions, you can always email us, give us a call. You can check out our virtual receptionist. We can get you guys set up with them, 818-356-7187. In the meantime and in between time, everybody stay home, stay safe. Get in touch with us if you have any questions. From Los Angeles, I wish everybody a great rest of the day, great rest of the week. Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. I'll talk to you soon.